We have Dan Rashan is going to be joining us, but why don't we get started? And let's see, I see some people. We got Donna Seeker and Jeannie Little and Jim Fleming and Sherry Skinner in the audience. And I'm just going to set the stage. Lisa, you've probably heard me talking about this a lot, but this is the end. This is the final workshop of our Networking for Good Expo, which is great. And so we have in the morning, we had the networking, the speed networking, and people's video introductions in the exhibit hall. I'm going to say exhibit hall. And then we had we have about 9 workshops going on right now that people recorded, and we put them up on the website so people can be watching those. And all of this is in this thought that we would create events and create opportunities to help support organizations that people love in their community. And I know, Lisa, you're the United Community person, and we're going to be doing workshops in September, or a workshop in September to be raising funds for them. And I'm like, well, we can do that a lot. We can do workshops on lots of different business topics or whatever, and then share the video and the transcript in exchange for donations to your favorite organization. And in our area, in the Fort Hunt area, we're doing this Mount Vernon Student Congress where the kids are going to be able to allocate funds to specific projects. So part of what my job to do is to raise funds, and part of why we're going to do that is stuff like this, so that the kids have money to donate to UCM or to donate to supporting parents who need to connect with pods but that don't have the resources or whatever those things are. So that's kind of the overarching, I see Dan's coming in here. That's the overarching vision of all this stuff. But thank you, Ron, and thank you, Lisa, and thank you, about to be Dan Rashan, for coming here today and joining.
I was there. You just couldn't see me. I'm sorry. I don't know why.
You. No, you weren't. I had to promote you to a panelist, Dan. This is
I've got promoted.
This is Zoom webinar. This is Ron's company. He runs it. And I had to use webinar because otherwise we wouldn't be able to get this experience of just the 4 people. So I didn't realize that till last night. Good times.
Sorry for my challenges.
So
Dan.
I shared.
Hey, how are you? Hi.
I shared with you the questions, but let's just go around, and if you could just introduce yourself and say how you got, and maybe give a little bit of an anecdote about how you got in the business. And then also I have no idea what's kosher or not for this, but just to give the people the sense of what kind of, what your business is like. We sell 10 houses a year and I focus exclusively in this area, or I sell 1,000 houses a year and I do all over the place, whatever it is, just so that the people who are watching this know who they're watching. And Ron, I'm going to have you start and introduce yourself.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Fraser, for putting this all together and having us today. Appreciate it. It's a great way to meet more folks and see more people and do more business. And I started in real estate in 2003, so 17 years for me. And I got into it because a couple of people told me I'd be good at it. I don't know why or how they thought that, but I was in the corporate world since college. Graduated in the late 80s. I worked for McDonald's Corporation, Hasbro Toys, moved to DC with National Geographic, and then got tired of being the corporate guy and started my own business in 03 and haven't looked back. I specialize in Southern Fairfax County, basically Lorton, Virginia. 80% of my business is done within 5 miles of my house. So I'm a specialist, not a generalist. And I'm with Keller Williams. I got my Keller Williams red on, and it is a collar shirt. I do want to point that out. That this is the first shirt with a collar I've worn in like 3 weeks. So I just want to point that out.
Lisa.
Hi, thank you for having me. I got into real estate in 2005, right before the crash, because my timing is always awesome. And I got into it initially because my husband is a contractor, and I thought that we would dabble in flips, and we did do one, and it was fine, but both of us have full-time jobs, and that's really something that you have to do on a full-time basis, or I think it was just too much for us, but it's great for other people. And then I just found that this really fit my skill set and that I loved it. And I've been doing it full time ever since. And I have a team. We were 4. We just added a 5th agent. Last year, we sold just under 45 million. This year, we're probably going to do at least 60. Somehow in the middle of a global pandemic, real estate is going insane. I mean, I have general feelings about why, but I think it's pretty unexpected. I am very surprised in any event because in the middle of March, I was like, oh, well, I guess we're not meeting goal, but we're exceeding. And I specialize in Alexandria, Fort Hunt, South Alexandria, and also City of Alexandria. And then we have hyper specialists on the team, one in DC, one that does Arlington, and one that does Springfield and western suburbs. But Alexandria is probably at least 85–90% of my business, including City of and South. And I live in Waynewood and Fort Hunt and have since '92, and I love this area. So here I still am, even with my empty nest.
And Lisa is like the queen of Waynewood and the mega supporter of everything that we do in Fort Hunt University. So she's a neighborhood booster, and she was a Fort Hunt big network person and all this stuff. So it's delight. And we're doing our workshops. Dan, you're doing a workshop too in September. So we're doing a workshop to support local charities, and it's awesome because this is what I like to do. And Lisa's like, I like the community too. We'll be best friends.
Yes, it's one of our tenets is community leadership. So I feel it's a joy and a pleasure, but it's also, I truly think, an obligation to give back to the community that supports us.
Perfect. Dan Roshan.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Dan Roshan, and I got my real estate license in 2007 because I also have impeccable timing. And in 2005, when Lisa was getting her license, I was waiting tables at a really high-end restaurant in Washington, D.C. And I think that it took me about 2 years for me to identify real estate sales as an opportunity. And the reason why I say 2005 was because before that, I was a very active alcoholic, and I had quit drinking in 2005. And then from 2005 to 7, I was just sort of figuring my life out. And then, and so then I got my real estate license in November of 2007, had a really tough start. And by April of 2008, 6 months later, when I finally had my first closing. So I did have a relative amount of success in that first year, after that point. So I guess the first year and a half, and I was able to buy the brokerage that I worked for, and I owned that for 10 years. I sold that 2 years ago. And since then, I wrote a book, Real Estate Evolution, and focused on just growing my sales team and sales network and selling real estate primarily in Northern Virginia. We also help Maryland and DC. But I've had a lot of successes and a lot of opportunities to learn. And so I'm grateful for both. I'm more grateful. I don't know. I'm grateful for both. I'd rather have the successes, right? But I'm grateful for both.
So every day is a school day.
That's right. That's right.
So I have a question. What is something that you believed when you started out or thought about being an agent? I mean, this is really for agents, whether they're new agents. This conversation is really for agents, again, whether they're new agents or whether they're, agents who are just like, I just want to break through. Well, actually, I'll skip that question. Let me ask you, did you have an aha moment? Do you feel like you had a moment that you could trace back and say, wow, that's when things really started to click? Ron?
Yeah, you want me to go? Yeah, so first of all, the first question, I was in a company employee mindset, and I had to move to a business mindset. That was my biggest thing. But the aha moment for me came probably my second or third year Took me a while to get going too, even in 2003 when it was pretty easy. You put a sign on the ground and then they sent you a check. That was really easy back then. But I remember my aha moment being, Keller Williams talks about listings, leads, and leverage. Actually, it's leads, leverage, and listings, whatever. And my thing, as you know, Dan, my thing was leverage. I was doing it all myself for the first couple of years and just trying to do everything and be all things to all people. And when I hired my first, it was an admin assistant, by the way, to sort of help out with the paperwork, we call them transaction coordinators. When I hired that person, it was hard to say, wow, I'm going to pay you, I think it was $25,000 or $30,000 a year part-time or whatever. And that's a lot of money to a new agent, but that was what really was my aha moment, was unloading some of that stuff, offloading some of those busy work that someone else talked about in the previous panel about, I don't get paid to put in signs and I don't get paid to do paperwork, but I have a great person who does that really well. And the very first client I ever worked with, his name was Rick, I said, hey, I'm starting something new, transaction coordinator, please let me know what you think. And it was my second transaction with them, by the way. And he said, after it was done, I said, so what do you think? He goes, you need to fire yourself because he's way better at that than you ever were. And so from then on, I've always had an admin assistant in some form or another.
That's great. Lisa?
I don't know that I had an aha moment. I think for me, it's just been sort of an organic learning curve. And I have been more successful every year. So there's things that we learn from failure, and there's things that we learn from struggle, which are usually our greatest lessons. But I think, since I didn't really have an aha moment, I will say, going back to the biggest misconception about this business is that you control your own schedule and it's got total flexibility. Mm-hmm. In theory, look, everybody's like, nah, when it's time to jump, it's time to jump. And it doesn't matter what your plans were that night. And having a team is very helpful because you can say, I'm at a wedding, like I can't write that offer for you right now. But somehow in this business, even though it is one of the most important purchases of one's life, there is a frenetic component to it always. I don't really know why, but that's it. And I think that when people get into this business and they think, I can set my own schedule and I'm going to have a lot of flexibility, and it is not a chill business by any stretch. It is very intense. It is very stressful. And I think people think, I love houses. And I love houses too, but that's like this much of it. Just a ton of problem solving and a ton, every day is like one disaster after the other, just like life or any other business. But I think people, when they get into it, sort of have a very glamorized view of it. And I also think they don't think we work as hard as we do.
Very nice. Daniel.
Frazier. So help me understand the exact, so I understand the aha moment, and help put that in a context for me of what was it that I was realizing in that aha moment.
Well, I guess I think about, like, if you look at Ron's moment, he's like, he had it in his head that he had to be involved in every transaction. He was the captain of the ship, and if he wasn't doing that, things would go off course. And once he let go of that, once he had that aha moment, or once he, made that decision, he's like, oh my God, I can be working on the business, right? I can be growing the business, all that stuff. So what was the place, and you don't have to have had it, but was there a place where you're like, I was thinking about it this way, and then I started thinking about it this way, and that has made all the difference?
Yeah, I was asking because I have a lot of aha moments where there's like a defining, okay, wait, now I realize that perhaps I was looking at that differently than what I could. I would suggest that for me, it's probably in the leadership aspect of it, because if you look at real estate sales, it's really based off of three components, which is the ability to be able to find business, through lead generation, and that's either going to be through prospecting or marketing. And then building upon top of that would be the ability to be able to build an organization. and then being able to lead. And so when you're looking to say, well, how successful do I want to be? And I use the word successful, because success is just a perception. So when I say successful, it's just to be able to communicate something commonly. But I think for me, it was the understanding of that I, to be a very, very effective leader, have to listen. And that being like the first piece of it. And I remember the morning that I had that thought, and this was after losing some agents in the brokerage I used to be a part of, and I remember waking up, and I just another really top producing agent left us, and I woke up and I'm like, you know what, this is on me, right? Like this is like there's like a consistent thing going on here. This is on me. And so, I can't sit there and say it's my circumstance, because there's a common pattern here of not being able to, to retain great people. And I realized that morning that I had a lot of opportunity to develop myself as a leader. And mostly it was coming from a place of learning the difference between being attached to a result and being committed to a result, and understanding that I can now be more of a coach and be more committed to the outcome and help somebody else to be able to have them understand how to think so that they could achieve their goals, rather than just saying like, hey, look, I know how to do this, do it this way, because I know the pattern. Like I can tell you this is how you're going to do it. If you follow this, you're going to have success. But that doesn't relate to most people or everybody.
Yeah, I feel convicted a little bit there on that. Lisa?
I remembered an aha moment. See, it just takes me a while because I have a little bit of brain damage from the massive amount of stress I'm under. But it was a seminar I took, and it was about using your time and efforts for marketing to market to your sphere of influence, to your past clients, versus throwing it out. For me, 99% of my business is from referrals from past clients. So that was an aha moment for me. That did change my business, and I just forgot about it.
So I'm sorry, Lisa, just because it's so important. So you were saying you were taking a marketing workshop or marketing course or something.
It was
and they
really
were saying,
just literally like about throwing a party for your clients.
Yeah.
And as I was in the workshop, I was just thinking like, this is what I should be watering. I should be spending my time and efforts on these people who know me, who have worked with me, who trust me, who know I'm really good at my job, instead of, spending $1,500 a month on Zillow and having random people call me. So just like insurance brokers or accountants or any of these sort of, you want people to say, Lisa Seward is my agent.
Right.
Because people don't generally, it's some ridiculous percentage of people who don't reuse their agent. So there's a lot of keeping in touch. And so time and money are best spent in my business staying connected with past clients. And it is a lot of time and it is a lot of money, but it also is rewarding because you get to like people. If something terrible happened in a transaction, and no matter how good you are, sometimes things are just bad beginning to end. So those people, you may just like wish them the best. You guys know what I'm talking about. But for the most part, we become friends with our clients. And it also keeps crazy from slipping through the door because we do not see people at their best. Am I right, gentlemen?
Sometimes.
We do not see people at their best. And at least if I know that my sister-in-law referred you, like, you have to stay a little bit sane. And I don't mind, like, people can scream. This is a big, stressful, huge deal. I'm empathetic. I don't mind that. But sometimes if you have just internet people, you just don't know what you're getting.
Right.
So So that was an aha moment for my business. And sorry, it took me about 20 minutes to think of.
So I have two more questions, and one of them is very, very practical. You have agents that are watching this, and the question is, it's all about searching for clues, right? What could I do to get more success? Are there systems or approaches or even technologies that you're like, yeah, this has been helpful. This has really helped me with my business? A system, an approach, a pattern, a habit, anything like that if you could, like Dan was kind of saying, like if you could actually give that to somebody and they'd actually do it, then that would help them?
Who do you want to go first?
Whoever's got the answer.
I think
Somebody else should start. I just went.
You'll probably get three different answers. And I guess mine would be, and I sometimes fail a little bit at nurturing my database, but it's the database. It's your database, your book of business. And if you go to retire from this business and you want to sell a business or give it to, do something to keep it moving and going, you have to have that book of business. And not just a I'm going to say Rolodex, but that really ages me about 30 years, but the technology now has really made keeping up with that book of business, that database, a lot easier. We have a special platform that we can keep in touch with all kinds of plans and things. But to me, it's just, you just have to, your database is your lifeblood of this business. That's where everything needs to come from and flow from. And you need to nurture that. And there's a couple of different ways to do it. I know Brian Buffini, a trainer in the business, talks about your A, your B, your C, and your D people. You categorize them as how much business they brought you, referrals, that kind of thing. There's a lot of different ways to approach it, but the basic premise is you need to hold that database as your lifeblood for this business. Follow up, how you follow up and whom and all that stuff is executional. But your database is where you got to put all your time, effort, in my opinion.
Agreed.
For me, and I agree with the database as the foundation of a business. For me, there's about maybe 10 or 15 ways to be able to look for leads. And the system is actually choosing which of those 10 or 15 ways that's going to resonate with you, that you're going to love and have passion for, right? So it could be calling an expired listing. Like for me, I have no problem calling an expired listing, right? But I understand and respect that for most, that's not what you want to do. I get it, right? And so it could be your sphere of influence. It could be networking. It could be cold calling. It could be Facebook leads. It could be door knocking, marketing to a farm, expired listings, internet lead providers, pay-per-click, video. There's so many different ways that you can find business. Yet what I believe is that the actual system is selecting one of those and then doing that on steroids. And the one that you choose should resonate with you. Okay. And in the background of all that, I highly recommend, just as Ron and Lisa were saying, is that database be the fundamental foundation, right? Like, so it's almost like going from like transactional marketing to relationship marketing, where the relationship, that's going to be the easiest business that you're going to get. But there's only one relationship you've had in your life that was not a transaction at first. And that's the relationship you have with your mother. Everybody else, you met them for the first time at some point in your life. Okay. And then you develop a relationship with them, and you can do so systematically. Once you're able to take it from a transactional based business to a relationship based business, then you're going to have a lot more stability. Now, if you want to continue to grow, then you continue to do both simultaneously and stay within your wheelhouse of what you enjoy doing.
You raise a good point real quick. The lead generation sometimes turns people off. I talk about, I got to call expireds, or I got to get on the phone, or it's 2 hours of trying to find leads. There's a lot of different.
Do what you love. Yeah, don't.
Lead generation. Yeah. I join a lot of community groups. I'm on the board of directors for a couple of the LCAC and some others. And I go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings, and I go to the HOA meetings and the PTA meetings, or whatever they're. I mean, that's lead gen for me. They know me. They say, oh, Ron's the realtor guy. Whatever. Yep. When I need you, I'll call you. So
it could be your church. It could be whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe, and I tell my team, in being hyper social, because nothing's going to happen sitting inside your house. Of course, COVID's been a bit of a challenge, and
Or
And
maybe
It
not.
ruined your advice, Lisa. It destroyed
Yeah.
your advice.
It's been a bit of a challenge. Like I, for one, I've never made a prospecting call. I appreciate that people build their business on that. I've never made an expired call. I do write letters to expireds if they're in 22308 or 22307. I haven't been super successful in that. And me personally, there is always different ways to be successful in this business. I've never called a client and asked for business. I will call a client to touch base, to invite them to lunch. I will never directly ask them, do you know anybody who's buying or selling a house? Because for me, if someone did that for me, I would never want to pick up the phone again. That's, you know, my psyche. And I know maybe I've missed out on tons of business, but that's just not something I'm comfortable with. So I don't do the prospecting or any of that. And I just work on the relationships for my sphere of influence. And I try to do Chamber of Commerce networking, be involved in my community, be involved in charitable organizations, be on boards, anyone who will ask me, and be a supporter of nonprofits and volunteerism. So it's a little bit, I guess, indirect, but it has worked very well.
So final question, and it kind of goes to this because like Dan said, and you guys are all alluding to, there are lots of different ways to, you know, grow the business in terms of bringing in new people into your network and sphere. But in terms of commonality, or in terms of things that you guys might sort of all agree on, and this isn't a strategy, it's more like the question, if you have young agents or new agents watching this and they all want to be successful, presumably, they all would like to be successful, but they all have different qualities and habits and approaches and perspectives and all that stuff. What is a quality that when you see that in an agent, you think that's somebody that I would bet on? Not just root for, not just, you know, hope for, but you'd bet on them. Anything come to mind?
Persistence.
Persistence, is that what you said?
Persistence.
Yeah,
I mean,
and problem solving, and just no matter what, figuring it out and getting it done.
I would say relationship building. You've got to be able to build a quick relationship, not necessarily deep, although a lot of people are friends with their clients, and not necessarily superficial where it's all salesy, like Lisa was saying, but just developing and building a relationship. I can meet somebody at a party or a cocktail party or something, or at the bar or whatever, and then be able to have a relationship with them where and then expand on that, but then it'll grow into an opportunity for business. I have a napkin like this. I met somebody at a party, wrote their number on it, and then it turned into a $10,000 check. I still have the napkin. That's in my desk because
member parties, you guys, member bars, parties.
Yeah, I know.
What are those, Mom?
I know it's a little tough now.
Those were so fun.
Developing relationships, having somebody. I'm a likable kind of guy. I have the gift of gab too. I think we all do. We have to in this business.
Affability.
It's relatability. I'm building a relationship with you, and then follow up. Your job is to follow up, stay in touch, but just develop that relationship where you think it could lead to something in the future.
Yeah, I think also, so I think both Ron and Lisa are saying the same thing in regards to that ability to connect with others, yet something that it may even come so natural. Like I'm just like listening to you as you say that, and it's almost come so natural that you may not even be aware of the fact that yes, it's having people like you, and it's recognizing opportunity, right? Because, we can all go out and, have everyone like us and know us yet, and even trust us. Yet if we don't see that opportunity and then provide value and contribution for those individuals so that then they reciprocate or hire us, then, I think that that's a big skill. But I go back to that persistence of, I agree, relationship-based, dominant, those are going to be the two that are going to be the behavioral drivers of most successful real estate agents. But it's that you can love people can love you, and you can take charge. And if you are not committed to getting kicked in the teeth and not feeling it, it is a part of the business.
Yeah.
Right. Like so if you're not going to be able to get back up, then I think that you're going to be handicapped.
Yeah, I think that's true for all sales, right? You have to
Yeah.
have a bit of a tough outer shell. Although I really hate what I like to call not winning.
Competitive.
Not winning. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I say just in real estate. My husband says that's BS. But yeah, I don't like not winning.
Me neither. I don't like it at all.
I think any good salesperson is competitive, and like Dan said, you have to you're going to get rejected. You just are.
We compete for a lot of business, and you're right. And I'll tell you what, when I lose a listing, which is rare, but it happens, when I lose a listing, I look at who got it. And if it's the agent, their previous agent who's followed up over the years, I'm okay with that, because that good for him, good for her, whatever. I think that is really smart. And I'll actually call agents and say, good for you. You beat me, but you should have, because you've stayed in touch with that person, just like I'm trying to do. But it's when they hire their friend's cousin's beautician that got their license yesterday. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
So it makes a difference who you lose to.
I've got some
But
behavior.
you wish them the best, like not
I
really.
wish the
but
best,
you
and I
say
take
that.
over 91 days.
Wish you the best. When it doesn't work out, give me a call. But I've got some definition of some behaviors that I define of successful. To go back to your question, is competitive, learning based, assertive, relationship based, self starters, team players. Right.
That's a perfect list.
Yeah.
Integrity.
Yeah, I would include integrity in there as well. But those are like the behaviors, and then the integrity would be like more of an action, right? And so I find that those, when you have those behaviors, that you're more likely to be able to succeed than not.
No, that's great, guys, and I really appreciate you taking the time here. I think this is really valuable, and I'll look forward to sharing it with agents. So hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
See you around campus.
See you around
Bye, guys.
campus.
Thanks.
See you
Have
guys.
a great weekend. Bye.